Pomeroy Lake Campground is a federal Forest Service campground that is located to the west of Watersmeet, not too far from the Michigan-Wisconsin border in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. If you are heading to this campground, you're going to want to set your GPS and stick with it unless it turns you down some roads that you know you absolutely cannot travel. On my way to some of these campgrounds, I got heading towards some roads that weren't even roads anymore. They were overgrown old 2-tracks that you wouldn't even venture with a quad. This campground is an extremely quiet, peaceful campground that is super remotely located. When I first entered this campground, I came up to this pay station, and it's unlike a pay station that I had found before. I couldn't figure out where the heck to deposit the envelope. Probably several of you are laughing at me because you've been to one of these campgrounds before, but I just can't figure out where the slot is at to stick an envelope in here for nothing. I felt pretty dumb as I messed around with this over here for quite a while. Luckily, there was no one else around. I figured that I had to fold this thing down and close it back up. I thought maybe I had to slide it up or down. I finally set my camera down, and I did a little bit more investigating. This is so frustrating. Oh my God. There's a hole right there. Lord, Matt. Dozens of campgrounds. Literally fought with this forever, and there's a hole underneath that lip. I've been trying to lift and to pull and to push and push down, and Lord, I've been doing this for how long and to how many dozens of campgrounds? Moving on. Now that I have that all figured out, I'm going to move on into the campground itself. If you're planning on staying here, there is a cost of $13 a night for one of these campsites, and it's definitely worth it if you're looking for a more remote getaway. Just taking a look at this very first site right here, you can see the sites are really big. I could back my boat and my vehicle and a camper and a couple other vehicles and all kinds of stuff down into this very first campsite here. And an added bonus, it's right on the water. I could pull the boat right up into here, or my kayak or my canoe, and just launch it out whenever I felt like it. This is definitely the campsite that I would choose if I was staying here, just because of the awesome lake access. Take a look out there. Another great thing is I can't see any houses or cabins on this. This is so remote feeling and so quiet. I'm going to head on into the campground here. Each one of these campsites does have a fire ring, and it has a picnic table, and you can see the picnic tables have an extension on them, making them wheelchair accessible. There is no large dumpster, it's just a couple little garbage cans, which makes me think that bears probably aren't a problem, but I'm willing to bet that bears venture through this campground every now and then. Campsite number 2 is the exact same situation. It's a really nice big campsite, maybe not quite as deep to accommodate so many different vehicles. However, it's a nice big site with a really great look of the lake. Here's another great example of this campground. They say that you can even back motorhomes into these on their website. However, some of these sites would be a little tight to back a motorhome into, or a really large trailer. It's definitely doable if you're good at backing these things up, but not all of them are a straight shot back like campsite number 4 here. I think you could probably back an entire semi into this campsite, and look at all the room that's still off to the side for a tent or a pop-up canopy or whatever you want to do. It's massive, and it's so wooded, and you can hardly see from site to site. This is just a great remote little campground here. Here's another campsite, maybe not quite so deep, probably more accommodating to somebody who wanted to pull up with a tent. And I'm looking backwards now because I'm coming up on a campsite where there was someone staying at, and I'm being chased by a dog. Story of my life visiting these campgrounds. These little dogs love to come out and follow me around the campgrounds. Here's another site. You can tell this one's far less used because it's got a lot of grass growing up.
Uneven.
And you can tell by the shake of my hand, it's not super level. You definitely would have to level off your rig, or if you're going to use a tent, you're going to have a very limited selection on where you can throw that tent up at because the ground is so uneven. For such a remote campground, they do have two really nice outhouses, one for him and one for her. And continuing around, here's another one of those campsites, not super level. However, it is really deep, so as long as you have a rig that you can level off once you get in there, you're going to be just fine. I'm going to head down to the boat launch area now, and I'm really surprised by this boat launch. Usually out in the middle of these lakes where you're super remote, like what this campground is, you just have a gravel boat launch area that's just a slope that goes down into the water. But this one is actually a cement one. Here's a quick map of the lake if you want to take a look at that. You can probably also Google it and find it online. And you can see here our paved boat launch area. Most of the lakes I've visited up around here do not have this. They just have the gravel pad, and here we have a cement pad. Look at this beautiful quiet lake, steam rising up early in the morning. If you're coming up here to fish, you can definitely expect to catch some walleye, some northern pike, bass, bluegill, and there are even muskie out on Pomeroy Lake.